Okay, so as I was thinking about the roof vent for the scratch-built transfer station, I went on the web and started looking around for roof vents that I'd like, that I could probably use, even if I had to modify them a little bit. And there were a bunch of them that I found that I liked, but the problem was that they came in sets, and they weren't all the same size. They weren't the same vent, so they were four different sizes, and a couple of them were 15 bucks a set. And I looked at them and I said, well, could I buy four sets? And I thought, I may never use those other vents. Oh, they'll just go to waste. Even on some of the other buildings that I'm planning on, I don't know that I'd use those vents. So it came down to, okay, I'm going to have to scratch build the vents. So where my starting point is that this is a set of fans and vent covers from Line. And I like these. I used this vent covers and the couple of these fans on the, I think it's the Waterman Junction maintenance and yard building. I have these on the front of the building, front top of the building. And they're pretty nice. They get a lot of, I can work with those. The vents look good, they're clean. But what I was looking for is something larger. I don't want a small fan, I want a big fan. It's got to move a lot of air. So I thought about using these as a template. Now these things are, let's get the right scale here, about 3 feet in diameter, 3 scale feet in diameter. So that's what I'm going to work with. Now I'm not actually going to use the fan. What I want to do is I want to build a housing and a system that looks like I got a 3-foot fan in there moving air out of the building. So we'll start with that in mind. 3-foot diameter, HO scale diameter housing, and see what we can do from there. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is make a few of these. Kind of hard to see. They're all white and stuff, but these are vent caps. And wanted a scratch-built 4 fan vents for the roof of the transfer station. So this is kind of what I came up with. It's a 1/8 inch rod, and the flat piece, or the top, starts out as 80 thousandths styrene that I cut into a square, and then what I did is I nibbled it off. Well, I set a circle. I used a circle cutter, and I made a circle, the diameter I wanted, and then I took some nippers and cut it off. And then what I've been doing is I've been sticking these into my Dremel. And if you hold on one second, let me get the Dremel out. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to do this handheld. But I have my Dremel tool mounted into a bench vise that I have. And it's got a 1/8 inch chuck on the end of it here. And so what I'll do is I'll take the piece I'm working on, stick it into there, and then start turning it. And hold on one second, I'll get to that. Okay, so now I have the piece into the Dremel tool. And what I'll do is I have this Dremel tool set for the slowest speed that I can. And then what I'll do is I'll take this file and pointing end away from me and have it grind against the teeth. And I'll make the shape, the dome shape that I want to have. And trying to keep this diameter, because that's about the diameter that I have all the other ones. So what then I'll do is I'll use the file and then a combination of sandpaper. I'm not sure what grit this is. This might be 100 grit, maybe it's 150. And then some fine, very fine paper, probably 1,000 or something like that grit to polish the plastic up. But I'm not going to try and show that on video, but anyway, I start off with the file, then we'll go to the sandpaper, show you what we got at the end. Okay, so there we have number 4, and as you can see, it got a bit of a mess, but it's simple to do, easy to do. Just got to take your time, go slow. If you apply too much pressure with the file, you'll start gouging, and of course you start heating up the plastic, and then you really start causing problems. So very light touch, very light movements, and then finishing it up with the very fine sandpaper. You have a nicely polished finish, and now I guess it's ready for the rest of the vent. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the rest of it, but at least I got the caps done, and we can go from there. All right, so what I decided to do next was the mounting platform that goes on the roof that everything else will mount on top of. And I started off with this one here, and all of these are the same. The material I chose was the two sides, and the back or the front are from scrap 30 thousandths styrene, number 9030 plain. Again, this was basically, these are parts are small enough, so it's basically just scrap from this. Then and this top piece also is the same thing. So all those create the framework for the mounting box. Now I built this first, and I said, well, that's just a little too wide. So I decided to move on, narrow it up. So I moved it off. And then I built several of these. And these are a little bit better, but my problem was, as you can see here, I needed to tighten up my cutting. I was not making them all quite the same. So I ended up just cutting a series of sides and backs and fronts and top pieces this. And I ended up probably with enough to make 6 or 7 base plates, and then got all the ones that were the closest that matched up the cutting and stuff with this small thing, my eyesight, and then working with the fixture that I was working with. Took a bit, but again, I'm just working with scrap, so it really didn't matter. So anyway, I got a bunch of these, the 30 thousandth sides in this little top piece here, and then I added a top that is this piece here, and that is 20 thousandths styrene. I used scrap pieces of this 9020 20 thou. Again, just scrap pieces. So I filled up made a good looking little box. And again, getting them all as close to the same size as possible, the same angles and everything. Then I added a scrap piece of 80 thousandths styrene to move in here, because what I wanted to do next was add a piece of tubing that my top vent would slide into, and that this would go through the roof panel, the roofing. So 80 thousandths there, and then I think I may have also added an 80 thousandths piece down here just to give it some more meat, and then drilled the hole for the tubing that I used, and the tubing is this number 226 3/16 tubing. The inside diameter is 1/8 of an or 1/8 of an inch. So that was what I did. So I added a 80 thou piece here and here to add some beef to the mounting plate, and drilled a hole for the tubing, and then glued everything, hot glued or glued everything together. And I think on this project I used this Tamiya extra thin cement. And so I ended up with base plates that look like that. Now let me move these over and put them on the roof section, and I can show you what that looks like. Let's see how this works out and show you this. Okay, so what I did then is located where I wanted to drill the holes for the 3/16 tubing to go through the roof. And so now what I have basically is this, kind of dark, but that. Now if I had to do it all over again, I would have waited to paint the roof until after I'd made the base plates, the base brackets. Then I would have mounted those brackets and then painted them all the same color. I'm probably going to paint the brackets this green color, the base plates here, the base frame, this same color, and then decide on the color for the fan housing and the vent cover. But that's basically what I have now. Is I have the vents in all 4 places, right where I want them. They look pretty good. Look better painted and not so bright white. But that's it so far. Now I guess what I gotta do is figure out what I'm gonna do for a housing. I think that's gonna be the bigger problem. Okay, so for the housing, I wanted to keep it fairly simple. And so what I ended up doing is taking a couple of pieces of tubing. The first piece of tubing, the outside piece, is 7/16 tube, and that's this outside piece right here. And I cut it about 3/8 of an inch long, which is just under 3 scale feet, 3/8 of an inch. And then inside of that, I put a 3/8 tube, and it's just a little bit shorter. I can't remember the exact thing, but it's about a 1/16 or not quite an 1/8 of an inch shorter. And then I slid the one inside the other. And the reason I use this other piece, this number 32 here, is as basically a stop. Because what I was going to do now is I have some of this copper mesh, and I coiled it around, and this is make a screen for the to keep the birds out of the vent. And that is this stuff I got from pretty sure I got this from Hobby Lobby. 100% copy, 80 mesh. When you get up close to it, it looks pretty good. Probably scale 3/4 inch openings in there, something like that. So then what I did is I cut it to the length I needed it, and of course coiled it around. And I didn't want any overlap. I didn't want it to overlap anywhere on this pointer. So they butt right up to each other, butt right up against the ends, butt right up against each other. And so then that's that. And then what I did is I had a little bit of glue down here, solvent down here to glue this into there. And then I went and mated everything together. So what did I end up with is that. So push the top down through, push it, the mesh then pushes on this, pull this down, hold it all down square, and then while I'm holding this down, glue it all in place. And then I added this piece because I needed something to go through the roof, and I didn't cut the 1/8 inch rod pieces for the top here quite long enough. So I just added this tubing here to extend, so I could extend down through the roof to have some way of gluing this. And so that's what I ended up with. And I actually ended up being able to create 4 of them that pretty much look alike. So yeah, got it done. Now all I got to do is decide what I'm going to do for paint, and then we'll go from there. Okay, well, so when I went to paint the roof vents, I started off with this Tamiya medium gray XF20, and I gave it 2 coats, very light coats, using the airbrush, light coats of this medium gray. Then I came back, and after I let it dry for about a day, I came back and gave it a wet on wet wash with this basalt gray, very light, very easy going, just to give it another little bit of a gray, again on wet, so it just in spots. Then I decided I needed to give it a little bit of a slightly dirty look. I don't want it too old looking. I don't want it too rusted up or you know, too much weathering, because the building really is in my mind, this is a fairly new building. So even though, but this is outside, so it does collect some dust and dirt and stuff. So then I came back on again on wet and gave it a little shot of this dark earth, and that gave it a little bit of dusting in there. And then on top of that, I came back and decided to give it a little bit of a metallic look. So I used some of this tempera paint, again wet on wet, and very light. So you can see there's a little bit of shininess to it, a little bit of metallic look to it. And I decided to stop there. That was pretty good. I had the 3 layers, these 3 paints, all wet on wet. And I think it turned out pretty good. Doesn't look too bad. And yeah, so now it's time to install them. Well, there we are. Nothing fancy, just 4 simple roof vents. And I think it looks pretty good with the building. It's about what I wanted. It was about what I was, aiming for. They look pretty good. Pardon the motion. But yeah, looks good. Now I think the front of the building needs a big sign up there, and some marking up at the peak of the roof there that I want to do. So on to the next project. Well, I think instead of the sign, what I'll do next is work on the handrail for the front of the building here. And so I created a jig that will help me in laying out the handrail, drilling the holes for the uprights, and then I'll be able to use this jig for the actual construction of the handrails themselves, keep everything aligned. So I think that'll be the next project. Then I'll think about what I want to do for a sign up here. So that's it. It's a long video for just a simple little construction of rooftop vents, but I wanted to get it documented. I wanted to get it out there. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and really thank you for commenting. And before I forget, grandson Caden, thank you very much for watching, boy. You're a wonderful grandson. I'm glad I have you for a grandson. You take care of yourself, kid. And again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and please comment. And I will see you all next time. Thanks a lot. Bye.